So in this video, you're going to be understanding how yoga can be a cleansing method for the flowering of our being. So if you are watching this video in this channel, I'm going to take the risk and assume that you already have a kind of intuition that only by interacting with the outside, by searching the things that might give you pleasure, comfort, safety, will never actually give us a true sense of security, fulfillment, and happiness. And even though we can maybe understand that, we can resonate with the fact, I think if we can look into our daily life expressions, you see that there is a very strong program in which we are kind of pulled towards sense perception orientations, like to find the pleasure in things that we can perceive through the senses. I want to eat a nice food. There's a nice place in which has a beautiful view, in which I can look at the nature, or things that can give some kind of pleasantness and comfort to the body. So even though we might have that intuition that making this outside journey, there is this strong program in which we're constantly being pulled to find a kind of comfort, fulfillment, and safety. So now, what would be the yogic understanding to see that, okay, if the purpose of life, or the purpose to get this completeness of life, it cannot be achieved by this interaction between my consciousness, which has these mediums of the 5 sense perceptions, and the things in which are perceivable, prakriti or nature. If this is not the journey, what would be the journey? And I think we all understood already, or all heard about this: life is about knowing the self. Even in Greek in philosophy they say, knowing thyself. And yoga explains a very beautiful way by understanding who we are and what we made up of. And I would like to expose now, maybe you haven't heard about, or maybe you heard in a different way, about the 5 koshas. So what are the 5 koshas? The 5 koshas, we can say, are the different layers that makes us, our existence, at least in this planet, as a human form. So we have the outer layer, the more gross layer, which is the body. Then we have the energy, which is the prana, that in which any physicality can have this possibility of express. We have the mind, manomaya kosha, which is this tool or this capacity in which we can perceive things. So if you are listen to me, because you have a mind, you have this ability to perceive and to interact with nature. And then we have more the subtle layers, which are, we can say, the consciousness dimension, which are the wisdom and the soul. And the soul, which is called Ananda Maya Kosha, it has its bliss, it has that contentment in which resides inside, and that consciousness, to feel its presence, it manifests into nature. So this whole purpose of life is how the non-dual consciousness can experience itself in that mirror of nature, and that's where the fulfillment and the bliss, or the lastful joy, happiness resides. And then if this is the truth, how can we actually now be in this dimension to not be in that outside program, or to feel that contentment that the sages say, the Buddha has said, Ramana Maharshi, or Patanjali, or Osho, Krishnamurti. So since we have these 5 koshas, these 5 layers, that body, breath and mind, they are, we can say, the functional self, in which the consciousness can function and can interact. If without a body, we don't have this medium, this platform to have experience. We don't have the prana, which is the breathing, how can we actually have that energy to express? And if we don't have the mind, how can we perceive things? So those three layers, they are there to support that manifestation process. But what happens is, since we are still in this stage of evolution, that we are not, we can say, mature yet, we don't have that vidya, we are still in avidya, ignorance. In those interactions we have carried, since our soul has been taking different forms and shapes, has accumulated imprints, has accumulated conditions in the mind, has accumulated holdings, fears, worries. All those interactions have been stored in these three dimensions that we can call the samskaras. And this very easy to see. If you have like a situation in which it triggers you some kind of unsafety, let's say your bank account just got zero from some reason, then you start to get worried and fear and panic, and you see how this changes your breathing, how this is going to change also your body language. So that truth, let's say worry or that imprint, exists in many different dimensions. Also it exists in how you interact. If you have anger, you're going to be interacting in a different way. And how does that you to create a certain expression on you? And that's the beauty of yoga as a holistic approach, because yoga says, okay, we have this functional part of ourselves which today stop us to feel that bliss because we are identified with those imprints. So now, how can we remove them in a very effective, organized approach? That is the holistic process of inner cleansing, which is called Ashuddhikshayi, that you can see in Yoga Sutras. I think the sutra, second chapter, Sutra 28, when he mentions what are the holistic approach of yoga, in which he mentions asanas, which is the most popular, the things about the body, pranayama, the breath, the different stages in which mind starts to get more pure state. And he mentions also yamas, how we interact. If I'm interacting from the background of objection, angerness, which is himsa, if I'm ahimsa, which means like non-violence, I'm also not being fed or not continuous in this mode that I'm being triggered by my imprints. Aparigraha, simplicity. I'm not in that search all the time to have this experience, that experience. I can start to create in space to feel that which is not perceivable through the senses, which is our consciousness. So we see how yoga, as an organized approach, it touches the different layers of ourselves with body asanas, breath pranayama, meditation in the mind, how we organize our lives in our interactions, yamas, how we are organizing our expressions, niyamas. One of the bases of niyamas is how can we keep our purity in our food, our purity in our mind state, our purity of energy, how we are embracing life as it happens, because anytime there is a judgment, there is a resistance, that's not the state of surrenderness, Ishvara Pranidhana. So yoga is this beautiful, organized approach in which it can cleanse those three different layers of our existence, so that that fulfillment we're trying to find in the interaction with outside, it starts to be experienced and expressed from inside. So I hope you enjoyed this little introduction about yoga as this inner journey of cleansing to find the fulfillment where it really resides. So thanks for watching, and always feel free to make any questions, any comments, any feedback. If you have any questions, feel free, and you can always try to bring the subject as clear as possible. So thanks for watching, and I wish you a very nice, pleasant day. And see you in the next videos. Namaste.